let's bring on someone who understands business and numbers. Our very good friend, Charles Payne, host of Making Money with Charles Payne, which you can watch weekdays 2 to 3 p.m. Eastern on Fox Business. Charles, always appreciate you joining us, breaking this down. Okay, first off, you're like one of the only people out there who makes sense with all of this stuff. Talk to us a bit about how these policies from this administration are affecting what we are paying at the pump.
It always gets back to, and by the way, hello. It always gets back to economics 101, supply and demand. There is an amazing demand out there. When you take away supply, whatever's out there goes up. The administration cannot have it both ways. And by the way, they know this is what happens. It is part of their game plan. This is what's so interesting about it. It's only when the polls go south that they say, hey, we've got to find a new way to message this. Nowhere are you hearing Nancy Pelosi saying maybe we should just allow oil companies to drill and we should not punish them. We should not even talk about punishing them. Maybe we should not try to put people on a board of the Federal Reserve that will tell banks they can't lend money to oil companies. Maybe we should stop demonizing them. And by the way, maybe we should stop lying about when the world is going to come to an end. Maybe we should stop lying about how soon this country can truly effectively drive electric vehicles and live off sun, and because it's not going to happen anytime soon, like never.
Yeah.
We'll never be completely off fossil fuels because we need petroleum for 6,000 items that we use. The toothbrush that I used this morning was made in part by petroleum.
The evil fossil fuels. We're talking with Charles Payne, which you make a great point. I always think like they're trying to. I always look at it like they're trying to take us back to like Middle Ages or even before then, where the only energy that we had was wind and solar. I mean, we were there once already, and then we invented the house, and we invented, all other kinds of stuff, Charles. And so why we want to go back there, I just don't know. Okay, so the Fed.
And then we had prosperity, and guess what? Those houses went from one bathroom to two, which, by the way, when that happened was novel. That was like part of the roaring 20s. No one thought you could have two bathrooms. Then we ended up with cars, and at first only rich people had them. Then everyone had them, and that's a wonderful thing. It's just nuts because this is all prosperity that makes everyone's lives easier. Now people are struggling, Dana. Day to day, people are struggling.
Is there going to be any relief? Because I know inflation so far is, we were told it was temporary. Clearly it's not. And the inflation that we're seeing, the cost of energy, the cost of everything that's related to energy. This has been going since before Putin began building up this, his hordes at the border of Ukraine. Talk to us a little bit about this, because what can be done? I know that a lot of people are saying that the Fed needs to act in order to stop this. Can they, and what can they do?
Well, they can stop the flow of cash. When they print money out of thin air. And since they just finished what they call quantitative easing, the fourth time they've done it. This month was the last purchase they've made, and just since the COVID situation, they printed up out of thin air $6 trillion, and that money goes through the banking system, and it finds its way through society, and and people prosper from it. So when you have inflation, you have two things, what they call demand inflation, and that's pretty simple. Too much money chasing too few goods is what I just talked about. Yeah. The other part is supply inflation, or supply influence inflation. The other part of the equation, too much money chasing too few goods. How do you get too few goods? Supply chain problems. That kind of stuff is supposed to work itself out, and it can work itself out. There's some dumb knucklehead stuff that makes it worse, like the rules in California, just make it tough for individuals who own their own trucks to go there, some of the rules and moving things around in this country, obviously tax policy. Those are other things that also have impaired the supply chain thing. And listen, the problem here has been all the cash, really, in my mind. It's just the Federal Reserve printed up trillions of dollars, $6 trillion, and then the federal government came up with about $5 or $6 trillion, and a lot of it was needed at the beginning. No one even argues that. It's so ironic that the same administration that wanted to spend more money, thank you, Joe Manchin, for standing strong, has the nerve to brag about the debt, that their spending was less than Trump's. Well, Trump closed the economy because the world economy was closed, and when the government says to you, you cannot go to work, and you say, well, how do I feed my family? You take a pay. They're supposed to pay you because they stopped you from going to work. What Biden did was different. We came into 2021 the best balance sheets in the history of America, household and corporate America. We did not need that extra $1.9 trillion. So, so the Fed is going to try to slow things down in their side, not really in an aggressive manner, to be honest with you. I'm not sure why they won't be more aggressive, but they're not. In the meantime, the other parts of it, you just have to kind of gut it out. There's an old saying in economics that the cure for high prices is high prices.
That's true. That's true. We're talking with our friend Charles Payne, host of Making Money with Charles Payne on Fox Business. I know you talked about this too the other day, and you were tweeting about this as well. Actually, I think you broke the discussion on this. The situation with the U.S. dollar, and then of course the dealings with the Saudis and China and Russia. Talk to us a little bit about this, because everybody's looking at the value of the dollar. And then we have, I was reading this piece with Reuters, Saudi Arabia is threatening to ditch dollar oil trades as well. When I look at this, everything that I read screams that we're on the edge of some kind of collapse or something to that effect. Walk me back away from that.
Well, at the very least, it's a wake-up call. So you're right. Your instincts are right. We don't have to be on the edge of it, but things are such that if you hit the right domino, they start to go down pretty quickly. So, and this is a warning call, because one of the reasons, we're sort of like the preeminent nation in the world. Obviously, we built this country on a strong legal system, on freedom of speech, freedom of religion, but also a strong work ethic and rule of law. And those things help to propel us past all these other countries that have been around for a long time, including Great Britain, which was the number one country before we sort of eclipsed them in the early 1900s. And, one thing that we do have to our advantage is that everybody uses a dollar, right? I mean, I don't care where you are. You break out a $10 bill. I could drop you anywhere on the planet. You break out a $10 bill, you're going to get service. You walk in a restaurant, you show them a $10 bill, you're getting service. Now, I know a lot of spots in New York, if you walk in there and break out a Thai baht, they're going to say, we can't help you. Okay? That's all I'm telling you. You need that dollar. And what happened, one of the reasons the dollar is the world's reserve currency is because of oil. In the early 1900s, when the world got off the so-called gold, we got off the gold standard, and they had this big meeting of all these giant economic minds called Bretton Woods. They decided that they would stop using gold as the backstop, and the dollar became sort of the thing. And Saudi Arabia was the first country to say, hey, you know what? From now on, we're only selling oil in dollars. We don't care what country you're in. If you want to buy our oil, you have to give us dollars. Wow. So that means our dollar has been in demand around the world. And when people get our dollars, they give us something in exchange for them. Sometimes they'll sell us something in exchange for it, but then they also spend the dollar. Now, this is what we have to worry about. What if Saudi Arabia now says, okay, we'll take the yuan from China, and then they have all of these yuans? What are they going to do with it? When they want to buy soybeans, do they buy it in dollars? Do they buy it from us? So that's how our economy begins to shift from the preeminent economy, in part because we are the world's reserve currency. And just having that distinction is where you get all of the major investments, the money flows here. If you could see how much foreign money owns our stock market, if you took all the stock markets in the world and added them up, we're like 80% of it, right? Despite how fast China's economy has grown, it's like only 10, 15%. The rest are just negligible. Yeah. So it means something. And for this to even be threatened is huge.
Last question for you, my friend Charles Payne with Fox Business, Making Money with Charles Payne. You can watch it daily. So this kind of sets up into this final question, because in watching everything that's happening in the world right now and the United States positioning, are we at, and this is kind of a big question, are we at a point where we are seeing the sunset on the economic dominance of the United States? Because you're talking about how much, of our stock market China owns. They own a ton of our debt. How we are not now we were in 2020, but not the biggest exporters of oil and LNG. Is that is that what we're actually maybe starting to look at? And I mean, just in preparing for that, we'd have to make a lot of changes. I don't know if we could do it fast enough to avert it.
Yeah, I don't know any country ever, prepares for that. And again, I point to Great Britain, where the sun never set on them before it set on them. We're different in the sense that we never colonized the world. All we've done is police the world and lost thousands of our best young men and women through a few generations and poured trillions into rebuilding other nations. Yeah. That's all we've done. So, we're there. We've been there, but it's a slow sunset. It's my father, rest in peace, his favorite song was Golden Time of Day, and that sort of sunset. And we're at the sort of beginning of that. And here's the thing: we know where it ends. We do have the ability to stop it, though. We can pause it. Do we have the will to do it? We were talking earlier about the Federal Reserve and how much they would do to slow down this economy. They don't have the political will to do it. No one in Congress has the political will to do it. The president doesn't have the political will to do it. In fact, they are doing the exact opposite, Dana. They are deliberately hurting the American public because they care more about climate change than they care about Americans. And that is a true statement. It's a painful, heartbreaking statement to have to make. But our elected leaders who are pulling the levers right now care much, much, much more about hitting some sort of esoteric, made-up, whatever, timeline, and they are making life so miserable for so many people. I'll let you know real quick because I know you got to go, and I'm getting ready for my show. Mm-hmm. When Nancy Pelosi talks about gouging and all these Democrats do, you got to know in the fourth quarter, ExxonMobil, their profit margin was 10%, 10.9%. That is really nothing for any business. Now, if you go back to 2013, it was 16.6%. There's no gouging going on here. We've got an industry that's suffering. It does not have to suffer. Unfortunately, the oil industry is a pawn in the greater scheme of things, which is not American greatness, but climate.
Yeah, there you go. Charles Payne, Making Money with Charles Payne. Charles, have a great show today. Thank you so much for your time today, my friend. And congrats to your son, too, on his art exhibit. I saw that.
Oh, thank you. Awesome. I mean, I cried. I almost cried when I posted that picture.
Oh, proud dad.
Yeah.
Talented
Thanks
family.
a lot.
Thanks, my friend. Have a good weekend.